Welcome back. Well, are South African universities doing enough to promote multilingualism as well as situating African languages at the center of the academy?
Well, on Friday, the Northwest University hosted the National Universities Language Resources Audit. It looks into whether universities are well equipped with resources to improve languages. Well, for more on this, we're joined now by Professor Langa Khumalo, Executive Director of the South African Center for Digital Language Resources at the Northwest. A very good morning to you, Professor, and thank you so much for your time. If you could just tell us what the center itself does, what it's responsible for, and what it hopes to achieve.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. Very briefly, SADiLaR is it's a short form for the South African Center for Digital Language Resources. And SADiLaR is a national research infrastructure that is hosted, as you've alluded to, by the Northwest University at the Potchefstroom campus. It is funded by the Department of Science and Innovation as part of the South African research infrastructure. And its strategic mandate is to create, manage, and distribute digital language resources. And as you will know, this derives from the Constitution that recognizes 11 official languages. And so the mandate, therefore, is to develop applicable software to all South African official languages in order to stimulate and support their research in the humanities and social sciences. That's the key mandate of SADiLaR.
Yeah, you know, in a time where, Prof, we are almost contending with the effects of globalization and as well as the preservation of indigenous languages, particularly on the home front, never mind when it comes to basic and higher education. Surely some of these projects that you've embarked on become very imperative in the preservation of such. Just take us through some of those projects that you guys have embarked on.
Indeed, developing digital resources for all the official languages is very, very important. But the focus is on the less resourced of these 11 official languages, and that's your Afrikaans and the 9 indigenous African languages. They are under-resourced because there is not much capacity, not much resources that these languages have, and this is in the form of your data sets that are required in multimodal forms, both as text corpora and written corpora, so that these data sets can be used as important building blocks in developing what we call human language technologies. And as you've rightly said, I mean, the transition from the book paper form to the digital form makes it very important for African languages to develop these data sets so that we can develop these necessary technologies for them to function within what we have called the cyber infrastructure, because the absence of African languages in the cyber infrastructure threatens their very existence in the context of the 4th industrial revolution, where everything is going to be digitized. So it is vitally important for us to develop these building blocks, these data sets that are required as part of our digitization program for African languages to actually function very well within the context of 4IR.
Now, there are obviously challenges that you would be expected to face where digitization at least is concerned, considering that we are still in the process of 4IR in South Africa. So what are some of the challenges that the center is facing, and how do you actually intend on overcoming them?
Indeed, there are challenges. You know, when you're looking at African languages mainly, these languages are, you know, they don't have much of writing history. So the books that are available are dated, and some of them, the quality of the books are very delicate. So they need a specialized type of machinery to digitize them. So the quality, it has to be very, very carefully managed. Firstly, secondly, the the copyright issue is a very, very serious issue. As you know, you can't collect and publish data sets without the permission, the copyright permission of the copyright holder. So those are the very critical challenges. And our digitization specialization node at the University of Pretoria has done a fantastic job in trying to clear some of these hurdles in order for us to curate and in order for us to store these data sets so that they can be used in developing some of these human language technologies.
Yeah. Prof, I want us to speak a little bit about the interlink between the different universities, as well as perhaps the collaboration and the collaborative effort. You're talking about Northwest University, you're talking about the University of Pretoria, SADiLaR as well, but really how an integrated effort is required in being able to ensure that this project of preserving Indigenous and digitizing our Indigenous languages and the books and the copyright actually gets realized within a short space of time. We're still contending with the language phenomena, believe it or not, in 2022 when it comes to a significant part of our institutions, Indigenous languages falling behind. So what is the collaborative effort amongst these universities to be able to say, can we just put this higher up the priority chain?
I think sharing is key in advancing African languages, because of course the need to share resources will enhance the use of these African languages. And I think I want to quickly link that with the language resources audit that we are currently doing across the universities. And the aspect of sharing resources is at the center of that effort. So the language resources audit that we are currently carrying out across South African public universities is to gauge what resources are available at these different universities and what is the gap, what is still required to support the implementation of the new language policy framework for higher education institutions, which was enunciated in 2020 and took effect from January of 2022. The imperative there is to gauge what resources are available across all the 26 public universities. And as we do this exercise, when we establish what the state of the art is, we intend to move forward to develop a model that is going to make it easy for universities to work collaboratively instead of working in silos. Because working collaboratively will make it easy for those universities that have done a lot in developing, say, resources for isiZulu, to share those with other universities so that we don't have a duplication of effort on the one hand and the waste of resources in replicating what has already been done. So the key in this audit is to get a sense of what is available by way of establishing the extent of language policy development at each of these universities, the extent of what is available in terms of expertise at these universities, and the extent of what resources by way of your specialized lexical development in specialized fields such as biology, chemistry, physics, mathematics, etc., and how these resources can be shared for their effective use. What is key in the context of multilingualism is access, assimilation, and conveying knowledge in our indigenous knowledges. And this can be effectively done when we actually have maximum use of our African languages. And SADiLaR is trying to provide an audit that will give a sense to the universities on how they can share these resources effectively and how multilingualism can be enhanced across our universities.
What is the timeline for this language resources audit, Professor?
We have had 2 pilots at the University of KwaZulu-Natal and at Northwest University. And I want to thank the executive management at these 2 universities, staff and students who have enabled this pilot. Our first audit has taken place on Friday, last Friday, at the University of Mpumalanga. which is the first of a series of these audits across all the 26 universities. And the timeline is that we have a final report by September of 2023 that we are going to submit at the Vice Chancellor's colloquium that is going to be held in 2023. But the pilot audit report is going to be reported at the Vice Chancellor's colloquium that is going to take place on the 1st and 2nd of December at the University of Pretoria. And we are very grateful for the University of Pretoria to host the Vice Chancellor's symposium this year that is going to actually put at the center of the academy the discourse on African languages, the discourse on multilingualism, so that we can unlock the potential that these languages have in epistemic access and student success.
Yeah. Very quickly, before we let you go, Prof, I mean, we're talking here about, and it's lovely to have the audit. It's great to have the digitization of indigenous languages. The question becomes around democratizing access and how we even ensure that access is available to even the most vulnerable, given the state of our country as well as some of its setbacks. How then do you foresee this? Once it's one thing to digitize, but digitization must also provide access to the majority of South Africans. Otherwise, digitization just becomes vain.
Indeed. The next Vice Chancellor's colloquium on the 1st and 2nd of December is going to try and look at what resources are available for the successful implementation of the new language policy framework for higher education. And this is the audit is going to assist the Vice Chancellors in devising a model to share these resources equitably and make them accessible to every student, using their languages as pedagogies to access epistemology, to access knowledge, to access science. Because the complexity of science, as we know, is not going to be dumbed down by using a particular language to access that particular science. But what we want to do is for every student to have the liberty to use the affordances of their language as part of the epistemic access, so that we can actually arrest the attrition rate that is afflicting our universities. So the idea is to make these resources, all of which are necessary to access knowledge, available to all our students, and to affirm these students' languages when they interact and break down this complexity of science. So the model should be in such a way that there is no university that is more advanced in implementing multilingualism than the other. That all these universities, after the state of the art has been established, after the model has been created, a model that makes these resources shareable equitably and make these resources accessible by our students so that they can access these complexities of science very, very easily. So the idea is to make whatever is developed, whatever is made available, if it is terminology in nanoscience, if it is terminology in chemistry, to make that available in all official languages of this country, the 11 official languages of this country, and make it accessible in such a way that the students can use these in understanding the complexities of their subject fields.